Let's take a look at the structures of the new brain. So when we say new brain, again, it means just newer structures of the brain. We only have one brain. Okay, we're looking at how the brain evolved from the inside out. We look at the most primitive with the brainstem, going into the limbic system, and now working our way to the most complex, which is the newer structures of the brain. So this is also called the forebrain, and you will hear me say cerebrum or cerebral cortex. And with the cerebrum and cerebral cortex, this is going to just be used interchangeably. So we're going to be drawing diagrams for this part of the brain, and it's better to have more space than not enough. And what we're looking at is going to be probably about half a page, I would say, and I would draw it down a little bit so you can have room to write all around it. So this is what the diagram is going to look like, the parts of the human brain, and we are looking at the left hemisphere here. So I'd like you to draw this, okay? To me, it kind of looks like a boxing glove or a Pac-Man, okay? But when you draw this, it's meant to match up with the human brain. So where that edge is here, okay, that's going to be comparable to right here. And you certainly do not have to draw the lobes perfectly. We just want to know a general area of where everything is. So the first part that we're looking at is going to be the frontal lobe, and the frontal lobe has to do with executive functioning. This is going to include things like higher order thinking, planning ahead, impulse control, language production, and personality. So we have looked at the frontal lobe before, and you actually probably have heard a lot about the frontal lobe and how yours is still developing. It still develops up until age 25 or so, and specifically that prefrontal cortex is where that decision-making and impulse control comes in. And we did look at this with Phineas. Okay, so when we look at how we study the brain, one of the ways we study it is with case studies. And the frontal lobe is where the iron rod went and damaged the frontal lobe, and saw that Phineas had personality changes. The second lobe that we're going to look at is the parietal lobe, and the parietal lobe has to do with touch. And we'll get more specific with this in just a little bit when we look at the somatosensory cortex. The third lobe that we're going to look at is the occipital lobe, which is located in the back of the brain. And the occipital lobe is responsible for vision. So information is going to go from our eyes to the thalamus and then to the occipital lobe to be integrated and perceived as a meaningful whole. What we're going to do now is I'm going to have you watch this video on hemispatial neglect syndrome. And it's looking at, can blindness occur even when our eyes can still see? And you're going to watch this video to find out.